All right, Bob. So we are recording again. My name is Luke Angstad. This is my podcast, Knowledge Wars. I have my friend and my friend and recurring guest Bob on again today. And over the weekend, Bob and I were talking about how you do reach a point where it gets to information overload, and where we can be following the news, the 24/7 news cycle, to such an extent where it becomes almost like a paralyzing. It just becomes an obsession where to say the very least, it interferes with everything, with our personal lives, with our families and everything else. And it gets to the point, and maybe that's part of that's part of the agenda too, is just obviously
Yeah.
overwhelming people with information, where they just throw their hand. They get to the point where they become so obsessed and overwhelmed and inundated with information that they just throw their hands up in the air and say, I can't take it anymore. I mean, what else can I do? And maybe that's the whole point of propaganda. I mean, not the whole point, but that's an integral part of the never-ending
Wearing
propaganda
people
machine.
down, wearing
Just
them down.
wearing
So we're
people
like,
down,
we
yeah.
basically, we don't care anymore.
Mhm.
Just sort of
Mhm.
give us this. Whatever, give us the solution because we're done.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
can't
yeah.
take it,
Yeah.
And so I agree with
And
you.
Bob, and what gets lost in the shuffle here, and this is something that I've been spending not just the past 2 years, well, but especially it's in particular over the past 2 years. Like I said, I've been trying to reach people my whole life, and with very little results. But nevertheless, I mean, I continue on. But what I try to impress upon people is that it doesn't have to be this way, and the solution is much more simpler than people realize, and that is that they just have to get the cojones to say no. Enough is enough. I am not going to humiliate myself. I'm not going to degrade myself anymore. I mean, enough is enough. This is ridiculous. I know it's ridiculous. I feel it in my bones. Whether or not a person understands it intellectually or not, people know it at a cellular level that what they are doing and what the government is forcing them to do is just simply wrong. And they have to say, no, enough is enough. And then this whole power and control system, it could literally go poof in an instant. I mean, and people are like, oh man, that's just wishful thinking. It's like, no, that's part of the power of perception. And this kind of ties back into a conversation I was having with my previous co-host Peter, about alchemy, and how alchemy is not just the medieval practice of turning base metals into gold, but it's about spiritual transformation. It's understanding how to use the knowledge of life, just the natural, how life works, to how to use it, how to for power, for good or for ill. And part of this understand, and it's very esoteric too. It's hidden and it's secretive, but part of this is knowing the power of perception. And this is why I am so optimistic, Bob, is because I understand how the power of perception works. And that is that if enough of us wake up, because perception is not only influenced by, I mean, perception doesn't just influence reality. Perception shapes reality. Perception creates reality. And one of the greatest illustrations of this was in this movie called Sneakers, with Robert Redford and Sidney Poitier. I don't know if you remember this movie. It came out about 30 years ago. Are you familiar with it?
I haven't seen it or recall it, but I mean, I know the title. Yeah.
It was a great movie, and there was one of the most memorable scenes of any movie I saw was an exchange between Robert Redford's character and Ben Kingsley, and they're talking about how the stock market works and how the stock market is influenced by rumors and hearsay. And what it got down to, it was Ben Kingsley's character told Robert Redford that this is all based upon perception. He said that all it just takes one rumor made out of whole cloth, just completely invented, pure fiction. You put it, you whisper it into somebody's ears. It gets spread around the stock exchange. It gets spread around the stockholders, the shareholders. That you just put a rumor out there that a business is ready to tank, or that it could be a perfectly healthy business that has relationships with innumerable tangential businesses that help uplift the economy. But all you have to do is put one false lie. All you do is put one rumor there, one lie, to spread it about a major company, and people get nervous. It obviously, again, based upon no reality, based upon no previous reality, a complete lie. But people get nervous. People get nervous, and they're like, but then they start selling off. And then companies that are tangentially related to this company, well, then their stockholders get nervous, and they start spreading, and they start selling off. And all of this happens from pure rumor, from just imagination. You create something from nothing.
Well, and
throw it into the stock market, and next thing you know, you've tanked the economy, from
Right.
nothing. And this is Bob, this is the perfect illustration for how perception creates reality. So that's why I tell people, listen, and this is actually a form of alchemy too, because this is esoteric knowledge. I mean, I think it's most people don't realize the power of perception and how it really does create reality. And this is why I am still hopeful and still realistically optimistic and hopeful, Bob, is because I know that if enough people wake up to this global manipulation program where the powers that be, the people that hold power, are doing everything they can to enslave humanity. If enough people wake up to this, and it just needs to be a significant minority of the population, that
Great.
will cause, it's like a critical mass number, and that will cause the global ascendancy of human consciousness. And we will free ourselves from this prison, Bob. And I know maybe that sounds a little light in the air, hoity-toity, just floating in the clouds, but perception really does work that way, Bob.
Oh, no, I 100% agree. And on the opposite end of that, you talked about the movie Sneakers, but this is new, and me and my wife just watched it. I think it's Netflix, but it's called We Work.
We Work. I'm not familiar
Maybe
with
it's
it.
not called We Work. Maybe it's We Crashed or something. I forget what the name of the movie was, but it's about the company We Work, right? You know, right? Or not?
Bob, I'm not familiar with the story. We were. Fill me in.
We Work. So there's this guy created. So this is just like how you said a bad rumor can create all this negative stuff. This guy created this idea of We Work, and you still see We Works. I think the guy, they bought him out and they kicked. The guy was a little Looney Tunes, not Looney Tunes. He was just a little out there, right? But so his idea was, to create this idea of community and centralized workspaces, right? With people, and you'll still see the concept and probably even the name places, but with cubicles and just almost like just the perfect setup for community and work. But there was no money in it, right? The guy was not profitable. However, perception of this is going to be the future, this is what we're going to do, we're going to change the way the globe works with each other. The guy he had all these people throwing him money. And at the end of the day, because he didn't have a good concept and he was a little bit out there, they kicked him out, even though he was the founder, bought him out. So the guy's probably a billionaire, but he has no company. But there was nothing there. You have to watch it. You will love it. I'll find the real title for you and I'll text it to you later. But we're watching. Like, there's nothing here. But yet he's getting investors to pour money into this place. And all the people were like, there was like this cult, man, that like, we work, and they were just all there for the ride, but there was nothing there. But yet it succeeded to a certain point, and it could have still succeeded if this guy, the founder, whatever his name was, didn't kind of, push it too far. You know what I mean? And he pushed it too far and basically let the cat out of the bag, because it was like, wait a second, like you guys are losing money by the freaking billions every week, but yet people are still giving you money, and so you're keeping this thing afloat. But if he was smarter with it, and probably greed, he would have succeeded. But like you said, it's perception. There was nothing there, but yet people were excited about it. So the same thing goes with what's happening now, right? And I do agree with you that it's easily fixed, but it's going to have to get bad first. Like, we need more people and people are waking up.
How much worse, Bob? I guess how much worse do you think it has to get here? I mean, do they really have to lose their homes? Do they really have to be, wrestling with their neighbor in the street for a loaf of bread, a gallon of milk? I mean, how bad does it have to be?
I mean, think about it right now. Like, I can talk to people and I'll tell them about the coming food, like 50 food processing. Another one burnt down like over the weekend or something. So all these things and
coincidentally
gas and everything. And the average person will say, like, I'm still buying chicken breast for $1.99 a pound at the grocery store. Like, what are you talking about? So I think, how bad does it have to get? It has to get personal. People, we're still in America where people don't get it. Like, things happen everywhere else but here. And it has to come knocking at your door before people will realize, like, holy crap. And I do think people are getting it in their head a little bit. My family is, most of them anyway. But I do think for the majority of people, it has to come home, empty cells.
I would have thought since March of 2020 with the initial lockdowns that would have hit home. And I thought, I guess it hasn't quite yet. I mean, there's still, and it comes down to, again, there's so much information and people are just bombarded with the 24/7 news cycle, and where it's we're just inundated with information where it gets to be overload, and people throw their hands up in the air and say, I can't take it anymore. And they are willing to do everything. They are willing to be pushed to the brink of annihilation by their government, so long as they still know where they still know that they're going to be able to cover their groceries, cover their mortgage, put a roof over their heads, provide for their families, and they're willing to do everything so long as they're still able to secure their creature comforts. And
well, see, that's the scary part, because
that's scary. Yeah, it is.
I do believe that, like we talk, the Hegelian dialect is that they will offer, before it gets real bad, they will offer the solution.
Mm-hmm.
The solution might be a UBI, and here's where you can get your food and you can keep your house, and people will say, okay, but
Mhm.
that's the ultimate control right there,
Yeah.
right? People will not fight for, they're not going to fight for their freedom. They're going to accept what they offer. That's the downside of it. They might not, I don't know.
Mhm.
But I do believe that I think what could wake people up as well, if they pull some other bullshit with another type of COVID or monkeypox and all that stuff, even though we don't hear about it, if you look for it, it's still going on. Cases are rising. Things are happening behind the scenes. They're not pushing it real hard. They stopped the monkeypox because it's Gay Pride Month. That's why they stopped the monkeypox agenda, because they said it started in the homosexual community. Whether it did or not, who knows? Whether it's even real, who knows? But they stopped pushing it because it's Pride Month.
And also, they had to trot out their dog and pony show for the January 6th thing that they're trying to turn into the nation. I mean, what monumental a false flag operation that is. I mean, just
100%.
you don't even know. I mean, I don't even know where to begin with people with the January 6th nonsense. I don't. They obviously they pretty much opened the doors. They made no. There was no resistance. I mean, it was a total Hollywood stage show production that January 6th, and that's why I don't even know where to begin with people. I mean, it's laughable.
Yeah. Well, here's another little, and once again, we're touching on something. Here's another thing. So I just got off the phone with my mom. She's from New Jersey. My mom's 80. I don't know. Gosh, 81, maybe 82. I'm not positive. Anyway, she knows that we have chickens and things like that. And I try not to scare her about what's happening, but at the same time, I want to, try to make her aware as much as possible without, upsetting her or whatever. So she said, and she doesn't, she'll watch a half an hour of news, your typical ABC News at 6:30, World News Tonight, and that's it. That's all she'll watch. And she told me this morning, I told her about how it's supposed to be like 100 degrees this week here where we're at. And I was telling her how, we have to make special provisions for the chickens because it's really too hot for them, right? So put ice in their water, things like that. And she said, she goes, Bob, I don't watch the news much. She goes, but last night they were saying that the people who have chickens in their backyard have salmonella. And she says, it's causing people to get sick. And I said, Mom, that's total fucking, I didn't say it like that, but I said, that's BS.
Mm-hmm.
I said, and she didn't, not saying she didn't believe it because that's what the news told her, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, if you were to come to my house and you would see how these chickens are treated, how they're fed, how they're raised, how my wife basically pets them, loves them, feeds them watermelon, fucking cantaloupe. I mean, these guys eat like kings, all this good stuff. The eggs are going to be phenomenal. And I said, but they're going to tell you that these chickens aren't safe for us. I said, the reason is they don't want people to be self-sufficient and be able to take care of themselves. I said, that's the issue. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, okay. Like she didn't I'm not going to argue with my mom about it. She doesn't have chickens. So it's a mute point. But the news is talking about backyard chickens are now a threat because people are getting sick and some are dying from salmonella from the backyard chickens.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy, man.
And it's amazing. I mean, if it comes through a screen and there's somebody sitting at a nice mahogany desk, his hair is perfectly coiffed. I mean, the makeup artist did a wonderful job of polishing his forehead. He's wearing a $3,000 Italian suit and he's reading from a script. People will believe anything. I mean, it's just the irony of ironies. I mean, when you look at the government's track record for lying, and if you just ask any person, you say, when was the last time the government got anything right? And they'd have to really stop and think about it.
Yeah.
But in the moment, when they turn on their television in the morning or in the afternoon or whatever the case may be, from moment to moment, day to day, the moment that they're having that interaction with their screen, there is a
little bit. The sun's in my face here. We're good.
Sure.
Probably a little bit.
I mean, it's this blind belief in the authority of the screen. I mean, maybe I should try and brand around that. It's the authority of the screen. I mean, it has no merit whatsoever, and it takes just the most basic superficial investigation into the history of government just over the past 50 years. And one of the things I always hark back to is the Kennedy assassination and how obviously ridiculous the Warren Commission was. But it just, all people have to do is wake up. It's a brand new day, and they are ready to get their daily mind control brainwashing dose from the screen today. And that's what it is. And you say the same lies over and over and over again. And like I said, your hair is perfectly coiffed. The makeup artist did a wonderful job powdering your forehead. You got your $3,000 Italian suit, the beautiful desk up front, and the people will believe anything you say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I remember listening to a little clip from, Edward Dowd, he's former VP of BlackRock. He was talking about how things are going to play out and how the system's going to come down within, the next few months. And, they will use monkeypox as, a lot of covers, right? Like, why is everything collapsing? Well, it all started with COVID. Now there's this. Now all the stuff is going to come together. And it sounds very, new lockdowns will come, and that's going to, whatever. And so, but his solution was resist. That's all you have to do is resist. And so sometimes I get crap from some of my friends, and, in good, it's all off, not really nasty, but it's like, they'll say, what are you doing? Just to, we'll be getting these comments, what are you doing? And I said, well, listen, if everybody did what I did, we wouldn't fucking be here. You know why? Because I never wore a damn mask. I was against the vaccine. I called bullshit on this whole thing. You don't have to get out there and protest or do anything. You just have to resist. Exactly. And so even though sometimes it feels like, oh, what are we doing? We're not, like, what can we do? What are we going to do? What are you doing? Resist. That's it. And if you resist, we're good. Just like yesterday, I heard a little
Bob, this is a joke, but it's kind of like what Nancy Reagan said in the 80s, right? Just say no.
Yeah. Right.
It really is. And maybe you do have to add a little bit more humor to this, but I mean, and people are so, at some point or other, the human race has lost its sense of humor. But anyway, that's not really related here. But no, you just have to say no, and people have to just take a deep breath and look around and say, they have to have they have to reconcile with what is their everyday reality compared to what they are being fed through the relentless 24/7 news circus. And they have to realize that, they couldn't be less, they have no relationship practically. I see, at least in my own life, I look at my right here and now life compared to what I am being, what I'm being fed anytime I go on my computer or my phone and check the news, and they have no relationship to each other. There really is nothing there. But you are right. That's what I try and tell people too in my calmest moments, is that we just have to say no. You just have to say no. You have to find it in yourself where you have to say to yourself, I'm not going to be humiliated anymore. I'm going to stop degrading myself. I know this is ridiculous. And you and I both know this. It's just in our most casual conversations with people. This is far and away, I think, when they feel the security to speak candidly in a private conversation off the record, this is their sentiment. They've had enough is enough, but they still can't find the courage yet to say, I'm not going to.
I think, and I do think that we are in this little period where we're gonna, like, they're letting off, right? So people think that it's over, and they really do, because they're not paying attention. They don't think anything is happening. And so my hope is, and it's a weird, like, be careful what you wish for, but like, bring it, put it all out on the table, lock us down, monkeypox, all this shit, do it now. Because when people are going to be like, what do you mean? Yesterday we were fine. Now all of a sudden there's something else and we got to stay home and lock us up. And hopefully then it will hit people like, come on, like, you got us one time, because this was a sneak attack, man. And so many people fell for it. But this time, after the smoke, like, people that used to come into my space here at my shop, when they first would walk in, they're wearing masks and stuff, because it's been a while, right? And then they see me and my crew and my family, no mask, no care in the world, like there's nothing going on. And little by little, they're just like, like, these guys seem like there's nothing wrong, so maybe there's not. Because I think in the back of their mind, they kind of knew that anyway.
Monkey see, monkey do.
Everybody is 100% normal. and they're seeing it. When they try to do it again, I hope anyway, and time will tell, that's when people say, no way, this can't be right. And then that's when people like me and you say it was never right. You got fooled the first time, but you're not being fooled this time. So now come on and resist. And that's it, just resist. And something I listened to yesterday in regards to the guns, and the one guy said, you know, if they make laws, and they are passing some crap in the Senate and stuff I have read, but that's another conversation. But they said if they make them illegal, but nobody gives them up, that means we're all criminals. And he said, when we're all criminals, he goes, no one's a criminal, because that's the way it works, right? So the same thing with lockdown. If we all say, no, we're not doing it, what are they going to do? And so many people have told me we will never lock down again. But I hope that when the rubber hits the road and they're confronted with that and the threats that are going to come with it, they hold their ground and say, hey, I knew I should have did the first time, and I'm not doing it. And if we get together as a community, we can win. But who knows, man?
And Bob, I think you know what, Bob, I think you're right with earlier in our conversation today, where you said that people just it hasn't been brought to their doorstep. It hasn't quite been brought to their doorstep yet. And by that I mean they still have their creature comforts. I mean, they know where their next meal is coming. They cover their grocery bills. They're going to be able to pay for their rent or their mortgage. They're going to be able to take care of their family and cover all of life's basic necessities, and maybe have a little disposable income, you know, to go to the movies or go out to eat, you know, once or twice that week. I mean, it hasn't been brought. I mean, the struggle, it hasn't been brought to their doorstep yet, and I think we may see that as gas prices continue to escalate, and food becomes much. I mean, as the food situation becomes much more precarious. And if we start seeing drastic shortages, well, then they're really going to start feeling. And I think this points to like Europe, where I mean, I think people in Austria and France, and the reason why they were marching in such large numbers, tens of thousands, or even maybe upwards of 100,000 here and there at some of their protests, is because the struggle was brought to their front doorstep, because they had less freedoms than the average American, you know, had prior to March of 2020. But I think you're right. The fight has yet to be brought to enough people's doorsteps where they feel physically. I mean, their basic survival. They feel physically threatened in order to secure their basic survival, and that moment hasn't happened yet. And I hope it doesn't happen.
But then the question would be, what happens when it does?
What happens when it does? Yeah, is there going to be complete bedlam? Is there going to be a complete panic? And I think that could happen, right? I mean, I hope it doesn't happen. And I hark back to earlier in our conversation with the power of perception, and how this really we can change we can ascend global consciousness instantaneously. I mean, a moment's illumination can change the world. If enough people have that experience together, we can raise global consciousness. So that's what I'm hoping for. And I know it's not a pie in the sky dream. I mean, I know this can happen, Bob. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing all this. I mean, I wouldn't be doing everything I can trying to get the knowledge and wisdom that I have out to people, because I know this can happen, because I am optimistic, and because I understand how the universe operates. But
well, it's
I hope it
numbers,
doesn't come to that.
Think about the people trying to control it all.
Yeah.
And the amount of people they're trying to control. Good luck.
But we see, Bob, we see that that's where they want to take it, right? They want to take people until they're at their direst straits. And I mean, how many of these? I mean, you've read the stories where are the chicken farms where certain certain chicken farms are burning down. Have you heard this?
Food products all over the country. Yes, all over the world.
Yeah, so they're just coincidentally by accident being burned down. I mean, so that's part of the short-term agenda. Obviously, is the food shortage, just continuing to get worse.
So prices will exponentially rise with gas. They predict gas is going to be hitting $10 a gallon in a lot of places in the country over the next few months. And my mom just said this morning it's over $5 in New Jersey. Food costs are rising. Shortages will come. The dollar is going to crash. There's no question, and it needs to, right? Because of the fiat currency, and we're being manipulated by it the whole time. The market, everything is coming down. And when it does, that's the moment of truth. How will people react? You know, I'm like, what's happening is really a good thing. because it's a flawed system and it's not right. And when it all comes down, you know, we could have something better.
So Bob, in addition to, you know, owning your home, and where else should we put our money right now? I mean, I heard some people say that we should be holding cash right now, that the stock market is so unstable that,
Oh, absolutely.
cash is
Yeah.
better. I mean, what do you think? Gold and silver? I mean, where do you put your?
Well, if I had a lot, which I don't, if I had a lot of money, I would definitely, yeah, it would be gold and silver without a doubt. Because if anything is gonna, and who knows, but if anything is gonna hold its value, would be that. But what we do, and we just have a solid business. We things happen in the past that we don't have a, you know, 401k, any money in the market. So, and I'm thankful, right? Because that's something else to worry about at this point, right? More money, more problems, right? So I don't have to worry about that. And our business is making good profit. And so what we do is we, believe it or not, it sounds crazy, but we spend it right now, right?
Yeah.
We spend it. And on things, not stupid things, but on things that we know we're going to need, whether we need them now or next year or whenever, and, you know, we spend it. And I listened to a guy yesterday that said, you know, if you have the means, like, you know, buy a freaking case of toothpaste because it's not going to get any cheaper and you need it. Buy the things that you need. Stockpile food. We're doing that. You know, this weekend I bought a solar generator, right? Because who knows what's going to happen. So, you know, it wasn't crazy expensive, but it's like things that you think you might need. And it used to be like, oh, let's save it. Let's, not us, but a lot of people save it, invest it to create more wealth. That's if you're thinking like that now, you're an idiot, because you're not, it's not about creating wealth right now. It's about surviving and coming out on the other side into a new system that could be based on the gold standard. That's what Putin's doing, right? That's what Putin's doing. The ruble is now backed by gold. Or, you know, do we allow them to push a digital global currency on us, you know, which is what they want to do, because then it's 100% control. But the dollar is going to be worthless in no time. I don't know. I'm not saying no time, like next week, next month, next year, but the dollar is losing value. And that they say that is why the cost of things are going up. It's not really, it is inflation, but it's also the devaluing of the dollar. And so, you know, the housing market is ready to dump because interest rates have risen. Our mutual friend Greg said he paid $300,000 for his house less than a year ago. The same neighborhood before he even got in, those homes were selling for $600,000. His interest rate was below 3%. Now interest rates are almost 6%. Nobody can afford to buy them. So you're going to start to see that happen.
Well, what's happened here in Florida is really hard to believe. I mean, some homes are literally doubling over the past year. I mean, it's just
right.
I mean,
now then they've done that, and even here as well.
Yeah.
But now what they've done on purpose, now they've raised the interest rate, so now nobody can afford to buy them.
Unless you're coming over from China and you're paying with cash. I mean, I went to an open house to a home down the road about maybe 2-3 weeks ago, and the house was purchased for $850,000 with cash. And you could tell, I mean, there was one local person, a local man, and then there was obviously a Chinese guy there, and they were just going back and forth, you know. Do I hear 800,000? Yes. Do I hear 810,000? Yes. And you could tell the guy from China, he wasn't going to back down from before he got to $1 million. And it was just pure cash, paid with cash. And I mean, that's par for the course. I mean, not just in Florida, but across the United States in general. It's that, you know, wealthy Chinese investors are coming over here buying up real estate. But that's
Speaking of China, so China owns Smithfield, Smithfield. And I read this morning on Zero Hedge that they said they are closing their plant in early 2023, which is right around the corner, in California, because they can't afford to do business anymore in California. So Chinese owns the pork and they're shutting it down in this country. That's interesting, right? So
it really is.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't know. I just think everybody should, and I listen to this podcast all the time, and his catchphrase is, we have to move back to move forward, right? Almost like we have to realize what's really important in our life. You know, it's not this laptop, it's not our cell phone, it's not all the bullshit that we've been sort of accustomed to enjoying and depending upon. We need to go back to the simple things of life. Like, what do you really need, you know? And I remember like a while back, and whatever, we're all just humans, and if you have the means, but people would say, like, I'm building a house, and they say you need 800 square feet per person in your house. So I have 5 kids and me and my wife, so we're building a house that's like, you know, I don't know, whatever, do the math, 7,000 square feet. Like, well, of course, that's what they say. Is that really because they want you to buy a big house and spend all your money? But is that really what you need? Right.
Good luck, Bob. Bob. I was going to say, Bob, good luck heating that in the winter and keeping it cool in the summer, right? I mean,
especially now, right?
Yeah,
With
especially now, yeah.
But so go back to what you really need. And then, most of us, our age, I mean, we were raised in a much different world. And so, we had a family of 5, me and my brother and sister, mom and dad, in a 3-bedroom, 1,200 square foot ranch with 1 bathroom.
Bob, we're at 2 minutes.
Did it stuck? Okay.
Yeah,
Now, did we have to beat on the door? Like, hey, I got to go to the bathroom. Yeah, but we survived, right? So we need to get back to the simpler things, I think, and we'll be fine. I don't think,
and Bob, you know what? And I'm optimistic because I don't think that could take as long as people think. I mean, we look at how far this global agenda for control, for the new world order to control every facet of people's lives. We look at how quickly this is accelerated since March of 2020. I mean, again, when that eureka moment goes off with enough people, when a large enough significant minority of people on this planet wake up to the global manipulation, it ends. It really does end, and then we'll see the new. Then we can see another new age too, a new age of paradise on this planet. And I that is not a pie in the sky dream, but that's why I keep plugging away, is because I know it's not a question of lifting heavy rocks up mountains. It's all between the ears.
Yeah.
And that's why I will persevere with these conversations and trying to bring my book to as many readers as possible.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, all right, Bob. Well, we are less than a minute here. I think this was a very productive conversation, and I'm looking forward to continuing it later in this week when our schedules are mutually, when they align again. So
sounds good.
All right, Bob. Hey, you have a great day, and I will touch base with you in the coming days, and we'll do this again.
Yeah, sounds good, Luke. Have a
all
great
right.
day.
Hey, thank you, Bob. You have a great day. I'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.